Thank you everybody for coming to my talk. Today I'm here to talk about simplifying tokenization using X-Tokenize. My name is Michael Szczech, and I'm the founder at X-Tokenize, and I am very excited to be here. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to start with a breakdown of tokenization. We're going to give a basic intro to how tokenization is used today. We are going to then discuss tokens on the XRPL and how tokens on the XRPL actually work. We're going to get started by installing, configuring, and using X-Tokenize. And for everybody who sticks around till the end, there's going to be a nice surprise. So by a show of hands, who's actually issued tokens, fungible, non-fungible, on the XRPL? OK, so quarter of the room. Cool. At its core, tokenization is the process of representing real or virtual assets or rights or financial instruments as a digital token on a distributed ledger. So before tokenization, ownership was hard. So as an example, imagine owning shares in a private company. You have to go through several intermediaries to validate the ownership of any single individual share. With tokenization, ownership is easily verifiable on the blockchain at any point in time. Illiquid. So traditional assets often suffer illiquidity issues. Before tokenization, sometimes it's hard to convert assets into cash when you need it. With tokenization, you could fractionalize real estate and take advantage of various different liquidity options provided by decentralized exchanges and decentralized marketplaces. With tokenization, before tokenization, there's high barriers to entry. Traditional assets often present high barriers to entry, limiting access to only a select few individuals who have those substantial investment requirements. For instance, investing in a piece of valuable art is typically very difficult to do for the average individual. With tokenization, this art can be fractionalized and then shared and owned by a collective group of people globally. Traditional systems are often centralized and require many different intermediaries like banks, brokers, and custodians. These intermediaries play a significant role for managing, verifying, and facilitating these transactions. When you trade stocks, you usually go through a brokerage firm, and tokenization changes that model, and essentially we're moving towards a decentralized global economy. Traditional systems are often inefficient, they're slow, they're cumbersome, and they could take days to settle different types of transactions in traditional markets. So there are several different markets that are going to be impacted by tokenization, some of them being financial instruments, such as equities, commodities, debt, insurance. High-value items, through fractionalization, real estate can now be broken down into small individual units. Multiple people could have a partial stake in a piece of fine art. The entertainment industry is also going to be revolutionized. Through digital art, we're seeing that as a big trend in the NFT community. Gaming, in-game assets, ownership of music and receiving royalties for those for music you create, and event ticketing. Other fields of interest are in the data realm, so your digital identity, you're able to tokenize your actual identity. One cool and novel use case that I've been theorizing recently is the idea of decentralized digital identity for logistics. So in crypto, nobody really wants to give out their crypto address publicly and then tie that to their physical and real world address. Using digital identity in the logistics industry, you could tokenize your physical address through a logistics provider, and then when you purchase something using crypto, the sender can just send the goods or whatever you're receiving, whatever you paid for, to the logistics service, and then they could be the ones who actually distribute the goods and products. So there's two main types of tokens that we're going to talk about today, and that's fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens. And they vary in two distinct ways. Fungible tokens are uniform and divisible. By that I mean you can't tell the difference between a token, a fungible token in this account versus this account. On-chain, they're treated exactly the same. And they're often divisible, meaning that you could break it down into very small subunits of the actual tokens. Non-fungible tokens, however, are unique, and every single NFT is easily distinguished from another NFT. And they are usually one-of-ones. In some cases, some artists might release large collections representing the same piece of art, but at the end of the day, the actual NFT token is different. So next we're going to get into tokens on the XRPL. Some of the topics we're going to cover is how they actually work and how they're issued on the XRPL. We're going to talk about the different trust line options, the account settings that affect your issuance. We're going to briefly talk about the decentralized exchange, some best practices, and we're going to end off with a recap on fungible tokens. So tokens on the XRPL work through trust lines. A trust line is essentially a bidirectional relationship between two accounts. When you create a trust line, you are essentially saying, I'm willing to hold up to a certain amount of tokens issued by a specific account for up to a specific amount. And they're typically created by submitting a trust set transaction. And they're tracked on the actual ledger through the Ripple State ledger object. Traditionally, for the most part, we see trust lines being set unilaterally, so an account is looking to hold a currency. They place a trust line for that currency so they could actually hold it on their account. There are actually three ways to establish a trust line through a trust set, which is the traditional way. There's through the DEX by purchasing some tokens, and by cashing a check. The latter two are special cases, and when you actually create a trust line using these methods, your limit amount is set to 0, meaning that if you wanted to receive any more additional tokens, you wouldn't be able to because the trust line is not configured to do so. And it's important to note that each trust line that you hold on the XRPL increases your account reserves by 2 XRP. So the actual process is pretty simple. When you're issuing a token on the XRPL, there are two accounts typically involved. There's the issuer and the treasury. So the issuer begins by configuring appropriate settings, which we'll dive into next. And then a treasury account, which is going to hold the tokens that are minted, create a trust line to the issuer, and then all we have to do at that point is send a payment with the amount of tokens we want to create. Now, when you bring other users into the mix, we now need to also add a third account known as operational wallets. These are going to be anything that's any type of user interaction. If you're going to be sending your users tokens or you're going to be receiving tokens, you don't want them to ever send directly to the issuer or the treasury. So when you set a trust line, there's several different options. We'll start off with the limit amount, and this is basically dictating how many of the tokens you're willing to hold. We also have your qualities, which adjust the way that balances are treated on your account. This could be useful if a token issuer actually has a transfer fee attached to their token. This way, when you set your qualities, you could account for that when receiving or sending payments. Rippling is an option that allows for atomic and efficient asset conversion through accounts and accounts trust lines. When you send a payment, placing an offer on the DEX, or through rippling, the XRPL can automatically discover a chain of trust lines in order to ripple through to convert your source asset into the desired destination asset. And then we're going to talk about, and then we have freezing. And freezing offers the issuer a way to manage the transferability of your token. There's currently 3 types of freezes. There's an individual freeze and an unfreeze. There's a global freeze, and there's the no freeze account setting. Individual freezes, you can freeze an individual account based off of automated systems. You could detect suspicious activity, or you might need to do so for regulatory concerns revolving that account. It is important to note when an account is individually frozen, outgoing payments from the frozen trust line can only be sent directly back to the issuing account. The frozen account can still receive payments from external accounts that aren't frozen, and all the offers that a frozen account might place on the DEX are now considered unfunded and would fail to cross. And then lastly, we're going to talk about authorized trust lines. It's basically another trust line mode, which requires each trust line to be verified or authorized by the issuer prior to them being able to actually hold the token. It adds a second step. This also, in order to enable the authorized trust lines, the issuer must enable the require authorization flag on their account. This could be beneficial for certain types of issuances to give an issuer an opportunity to perform additional due diligence on the account, such as KYC, or any other type of additional steps they might need to get them onboarded. Once a trust line is actually authorized, this process can't be undone, so they're permanently authorized. Although they are permanently authorized, you could still freeze and unfreeze that trust line. It is also important to mention when you're using authorized trust lines, it's recommended to follow heightened levels of security because you're exposing your issuing account to much more transactions. So now we're going to talk about account settings that actually affect your issuance. So we mentioned rippling, and there's an account setting known as default rippling. This allows other users, other holders of the token to transact using your token. When you enable default rippling on the Ripple state object, it actually allows, it enables rippling from the issuer's perspective of the trust line automatically. Then we have transfer fees. Issuers can charge a transfer fee that applies to all transactions involving your token. This value could be anywhere from 0 to 100%. Then we have our tick size. The tick size allows the issuer to truncate the number of significant digits applied to an offer placed on the decentralized exchange. So this value can be set from 3 to 15 significant digits, and a smaller tick size actually requires participants to make larger increments in their exchange offers in order to be considered a better offer than the previous one. And then we have the require authorization flag. This is what enables the authorized trust line mode. And then we have the global freeze and the no freeze flag. So global freeze freezes all the trust lines connected to an issuer, and no freeze permanently gives up the ability to execute individual freezes or global freezes. It's also important to note that if you enact a no freeze, if you enable the no freeze setting on your account, any account that is frozen, or if you have a global freeze active at that point in time, all trust lines that are frozen will be permanently frozen. Next, we're going to mention the decentralized exchange, and it's basically a feature on the XRPL that allows users to trade and issue tokens in a peer-to-peer manner without the need for any intermediary. So the DEX utilizes a unique model called the distributed order book model, where each account can actually create and manage their own orders and offers. When a trade is actually executed, it matches the existing orders on the ledger. So there's different types of order types that you could submit using the DEX: market orders, limit orders, fill or kill orders, and these are all enabled by various different transaction flags that you attach to your offer create transactions. So some best practices when issuing fungible tokens: follow a separation of concerns. So you want to divide your different accounts. If you're going to be doing distributions, you need to have a distribution account, burning account. Just separate all the accounts. Don't ever transact directly out of the issuer or the treasury. If you want your token to behave as a traditional cryptocurrency, you can actually black hole the account, which will permanently revoke access to the account. It's also recommended that you verify a domain associated with your project or token. You could do this by setting a transaction using the account set. Complete a token attestation through the XRPL Foundation. Follow appropriate account security measures. Use hardware wallets when available. Multi-signature. And it's always best to run your own infrastructure when submitting your transactions. So next we're going to talk about non-fungible tokens. And we're going to mention how they work and how they're issued on the XRPL, any account settings, NF token mint settings, how they're transferred, best practices, and end off with a recap. So NFTs are minted on the XRPL through NF token mint transactions. When you mint an NFT, it creates an NF token object, which is then stored on an NF token page on the ledger. Each NF token object holds the NF token ID, which contains important information regarding the actual NFT itself, such as any settings attached to the NFT through its flags, what the transfer fee is on the NFT, the encoded account, the token taxon, which is a issuer-chosen identifier, and a sequence number, which is essentially an auto-incrementing value based on what sequence you are in your NFT mint. So here's a typical process that a digital art project might follow to issue NFTs on the ledger. So we start off by having an artist. They'll have some type of art collection. They'll generate some metadata for that art. Hopefully they'll format it. They'll deploy it to some type of decentralized service, usually IPFS, or they could deploy it on a centralized service like AWS. Then they'll store that within X-Tokenize, hopefully. And then we have our minting wallet and our authorized minter. Basically, our authorized minter is allowed to mint NFTs on behalf of our issuing account. So we begin by setting authorized minter on our minting account to enable a second account to mint NFTs on our behalf. And then, depending on the distribution method you're going to choose, this diagram showcases a on-demand style distribution where a potential buyer would send a payment to a third account in some type of token or an XRP, and then the authorized minter will be running some type of service that is tracking this account for any type of conditions filled. This authorized minter will then either mint the NFT on the spot or select an NFT from their pool of NFTs, create an offer for it, and then the customer will ultimately accept that offer. So authorized minting basically enables NFTs to be minted on behalf of another account. This is useful if you're running a marketplace or going back to the previous point on separation of concerns, you want to separate your issuance from where they're actually being held. Another important mention is that in order to accept payments, in order for offers to be accepted in different currencies on the XRPL, you have to actually set a trust line in advance in order for the issuing account to be able to manage, to be able to handle that payment. This is actually a specific case that only applies if if the NFTs are transferable, and if there's a transfer fee attached to the NFT. So there's various different NF token mint settings that you could set. The NF token taxon is basically a collection identifier and allows marketplaces and applications to easily identify between different collections. If you're using authorized minter, the authorized minting mode, then you actually have to attach the issuer to each transaction. Then we have our transfer fee, which is denominated in a value from 0 to 50,000. And in this case, on this NFT example we have here, we see a transfer fee of 10,000, which means that there's a 10% royalty attached to the NFT. And then there's 3 flags. The transferable flag, which dictates if your NFT can be transferred from one account to another. If this flag is not enabled, the NFT can only be transferred from the issuing account to one other account. There's the only XRP flag, which dictates that this NFT can only be bought or sold using XRP. And then there's the burnable flag. This enables the issuer to actually be able to burn the NFT at any point in time. And then with all of these, you also want to, it's best practices to attach a URI, which is an identifier, usually a pointer to an IPFS CID. And on our right, you can see the first NFT minted on the XRPL with a URI actually attached to it. So there's two methods of transferring NFTs. It's important to note that NFTs can't be directly sent to another account. They have to be transferred by accepting an offer. So the two modes are direct mode, where an NFT owner can accept an offer to buy an NFT that has a outstanding offer for it, or a NFT buyer can accept an NFT owner's offer to sell the NFT. This is assuming that there's no destination set on the actual offer itself. And then in brokered mode, an NFT owner would basically create an offer to sell with a destination set as the broker's account. An NFT buyer would then place a buy offer to buy that same NFT while also setting the broker's account as the destination. The broker can then atomically bridge the two transactions and claim a fee up to the spread between the two offers. This enables a great monetization strategy for NFT marketplaces. So some best practices for issuing NFTs: use authorized minting. This will protect your issuing account from any additional security issues, and separation of concerns, manage multiple accounts when dealing with issuance. Format your metadata so that it can be easily recognized across different applications. Follow best security practices when it comes to account security. Use hardware wallets. You can use multi-signature. And it's best to manage your own infrastructure. So running your own XRPL node. And for NFTs, it's very beneficial to run a Clio node, which enables easy access of NFT history and current NFT ownership. So a summary of tokens on the XRPL. Fungible tokens are uniform and trustful issuances of value facilitated by trust lines. So I say trustful because when you issue an asset on the XRPL, anybody could actually go and issue a token on the XRPL. When you are purchasing a token, you're trusting that that issuer is holding onto that value. They're holding up to their end of the bargain. The minting process involves two accounts, the issuer and the treasury. And in order to complete the minting process, you have to assign the correct settings. Trust lines, basically you set up your permissions for asset transactions, enabling how much you're willing to hold of a given currency. Do these trust lines need to be authorized in order to actually use them? And then the various different account settings. For non-fungible tokens, I think we've covered all this already. So now let's dive into X-Tokenize. By a show of hands, is anybody here following along while I'm going to go through the demo? Anybody installing X-Tokenize right now? OK, makes my life easier. So X-Tokenize. It's a issued currency and NFT management solution for the XRPL. It's a Node.js command line application that has many beneficial features for any issuer. So the issued currency manager allows you to create new tokens, burn tokens, freeze them, create filtered disbursements, and also manage your orders on the DEX. The NFT manager enables metadata deployment, so you could deploy your metadata to IPFS or AWS. You could do bulk NFT minting, and there's two different options to actually distribute your NFTs on the XRPL using the NFT manager. So with X-Tokenize, there's a lot of flexibility. You could fine-tune your settings. There's several different types of wallets that we support. We have an internal system. You could use or you could use the Ledger Nano. And we have a very in-depth, comprehensive documentation. So if you get stuck at any point in time, you can check the docs and you'll find your answer. And then we also have two little apps within it. I call them apps. Two different additional managers, the XRPL decks, where you could view order books and place and cancel offers. And then I have a light NFT marketplace, which allows you to basically create offers for NFTs and manage your incoming and outgoing offers. So in order to install it, you're going to need to have Node.js installed, the latest long-term support. And yeah, here's the repository. So we'll go through the whole process. So we'll start by making a new directory on our desktop. Is the font size okay? Should I make it a little bigger or clear? Okay. So we're going to make a directory, and then we are going to enter that directory. Now we're going to clone the repository. Enter that directory again. And now we're going to actually run npm install and install any dependencies that we need. Should be done in a sec. There we go. Let's clear the actual repository, the command line. So now we could get started by running node X-Tokenize. So here we have, right out of the gates, we have several different options. We have our issued currency manager, our NFT manager, different tools, access to the DEX manager, the NFT marketplace, and our settings. One setting I'm going to configure right out of the gates is the max ledger offset. You'll see why later. So I'll just change this to 5. And every time you adjust your settings, the application has to restart so that it can be reloaded into the system. So we're going to start with the issued currency manager, and we're going to create a new currency. We're going to call it Apex config. We're going to connect to the testnet. Basically, for each network, we have some default nodes, but it's best here to use your own node and connect to your own node. But right now, we're just going to connect to the testnet. Successfully contacted the server. So now we're going to create our issuing account. This is going to be the account that is going to issue our token. And we'll just do a new wallet. And we'll encrypt our seed phrase with password and 1234. We use PBK DF2 to derive the key to create a secure key to encrypt your seed phrase using AES 256 encryption. So make sure at this point in time, if you got to this stage and you see this on your screen, make sure you save this in a safe place, because we won't show these again and there's no way to recover it. So now we created our treasury wallet. We are not going to encrypt this. And lastly, we automatically generate a distribution or operational wallet. Unlike the other wallets, this one actually has to be stored internally within X-Tokenize to sign bulk transactions. And we're going to leave it unencrypted. Next, we're going to determine our currency code. We will call it Apex. And we'll make it a fixed supply currency and with a max supply of 100,000. And this currency has not already been minted. Next, we'll review our configuration, and everything looks good. So we'll get started by, here now we're in the actual issued currency manager. This is where you navigate to mint, burn, freeze, execute a filtered distribution, access and manage your orders on the DEX, or access various different tools. So to get started, we're going to create some test wallets since we just installed X-Tokenize. So we're going to need some test users. We'll make 25 wallets, and then we'll actually go and fund those wallets and give them a spendable balance. Let's do 25 XRP each. So if you notice it's sending 35 XRP, this is to account for the reserve requirements of the XRPL currently. So now we can go and mint our token. There's several different preliminary checks that take effect when you run any of these managers, and to make sure that your accounts are properly set up and enabled to actually perform that function. So first thing, it's gonna see that our account doesn't exist on the network. And if you configured a funding account in your X-Tokenize settings, you could opt in to use that. If you're on the mainnet and there is no funding account, a QR code will pop up and you'll fund it with your favorite wallet. So we'll just use the default method, which is gonna get a funded testnet wallet for us and then fund our account. Next, we're going to enable default rippling. This will allow our test wallets to transact in the token. Next, we're now funding our treasury. I believe the trust line or the account set failed because I lowered the max ledger offset too low. So we'll go back and change that really quick. So if we go back to our settings, we'll change this to 10. So now we're going to run our preliminary checks again. It's going to enable default rippling. And now we're all set. It's going to ask us how many tokens we want to mint up to the max amount. We will start with 10,000. We're initializing a payment to actually send the token from our issuing account to our treasury. And once we submit that, it's going to verify that it was actually minted. And there we go. We have just minted 10,000 Apex coins. Now we realized, oh wait, we minted way too many. Let's burn 5,000 of those. So this allows us to, in order to burn the token, all you're doing is sending some tokens back to the issuing account. Now that our accounts are actually activated, we could set our test trust lines with our test users. We will set 25. So now all 25 of these test accounts are going to be properly configured to be able to hold our Apex coin. So now let's execute a distribution. We'll call it Apex Initial Distribution. And here we have several different filtration options. You could do a loyalty program, which is essentially rewarding holders of your token to receive additional tokens. You could do a partnership program, which takes the balance of another issuer, checks their holders, and cross-references who has both trust lines and how many tokens do they hold of a different issuer. You could configure a trust line with You could tell specific individuals to configure their trust line using this specific setting. This will enable you to do a fine-tuned distribution. You could go based off of a minimum XRP balance, or you could actually even track based off of ownership of an NFT by a specific issuer, or you could do it generally by a specific issuer, or you could get as specific as declaring a token taxon as well, so their collection identifier. But since nobody actually holds our token, we are just going to distribute it to everybody. And each account will get 5 Apex coins. It found 25 eligible trust lines. Here's our configuration. Looks good. Now if we go to manage our distribution, we should see the distribution config we just created, and we could actually go ahead and run our distribution. Oh, just like when we started minting, it runs into some preliminary checks. So in this case, we never actually funded our distribution account, so let's do that first. Then we're going to set a trust line and fund the account with the appropriate amount of tokens to complete the distribution. So we're sending 125 Apex coins to finish this distribution. And just like that, it's running. And it should be done in a few seconds. And there we have it. Now all 25 of our trust lines should have 5 Apex coins in each of their accounts. So we could go and verify that distribution. This is why I changed that setting earlier, so that we're not sitting here for too long as we verify our results. So there's a buffer between running the distribution and verification to actually have some transaction finality and be sure that your transactions did go through. And any transactions that failed past this given point should have been deemed completely failed. So now we could verify our results. We could see that we have 25 trust lines, 25 successful distributions, 0 failed, 0 pending, and we could see our overall distribution data. So we distributed 125, we expected 125, and they were all successful. So now that we have some holders, we could also provision some liquidity on the DEX. So currently, we could see that there are no active buy or sell orders for Apex token. We just made it. So we will place an offer to sell some tokens for, we'll sell 100 tokens for 0.001 XRP each. We will place the passive flag so that it behaves as a limit order. And we'll submit that. And as soon as we submit it, we'll be able to see our order book populate. And there we have it. We have our sell offers, and we can see the total value, the price per token, and the amount of tokens at any given price. So now we'll actually act as a buyer for this token, and we'll offer to purchase each token for 0.00005 tokens, and we'll offer to buy 100. Same thing, we're going to enable the passive flag. And now you can see we have our populated order book, and we can see our token has a spot price or a middle price of 0.00075 XRP. Now, if we want to cancel these offers, they're denominated by their sequence number. We'll just go ahead and cancel both. Actually, we'll leave the buy offer. So we could view the DEX in the main menu. So I'll just make a note of this issuing address. So within our tools, we could also manage our individual account settings. So following some best practices, you might want to set a domain on your account. We'll do X-Tokenize.com. And yeah, over here you could actually enable authorized minting. You could set your email hash on your account, which is often used to generate avatars for your account on different explorers. You could set your tick size here, which will adjust the number of significant decimal places on the DEX offers you create and other users create. Set our transfer fee, rotate our actual signing key by setting a regular key, set a message key, and toggle various different settings. So now that we have some holders, we can go ahead and create another distribution. We'll call it Loyalty Program. And now it's going to filter the trust lines based off of a specified balance that we set. And we will do a minimum balance of 5. We should see everybody was eligible for that one. And then if we'll send them each 2 tokens. And yeah, here we could see our distribution data. We don't need to verify this one. Let's dive into the NFTs. So actually, no, first we're going to check out the DEX on the main menu. Here we can see that there's no network configured in the settings. So you would actually have to go into your X-Tokenize settings. Here we have various different options. You could adjust the behavior of X-Tokenize. You could enable a default project, which will automatically launch to that project at launch. You could modify your Zoom settings, so you can actually import your own API keys if you choose to do so. Or you could just use X-Tokenize's access token. We're not going to change that right now. Here we also have various different behaviors that affect different settings that adjust the behavior of your different distribution systems, such as your throttling. Between each action, you could actually throttle the process to avoid being rate limited by your node or public nodes. You could set a sleep time, so every time you submit 100 transactions, take a break to avoid being rate limited again. And you could also set the number of transactions that should be activate that sleep time. You could adjust how your fees are calculated using the fee cushion, which is essentially acts as a multiplier when calculating the fee for your transactions. And you could set a max fee. So if this fee cushion multiplier ends up pushing your fee too high, you could have X-Tokenize take a pause until the network fees come back down. You could toggle your transaction logging, so every action within X-Tokenize is logged using Winston, so it's easily exported into any log tooling that you might use. You could set your funding account, add accounts to use with the DEX and the Light Marketplace, and set your network options. So we'll just go ahead and connect to the test network here. Okay, so we'll quickly dive into NFTs. We'll create a new NFT config. We will call it Apex NFTs. Looks like I'm a little short on time. We'll connect to the default test network, and we will create a new wallet. This will be our NFT issuing wallet. We won't encrypt the seed. And next, we're going to enable authorized minting to mint on behalf of our NFT minting wallet. Again, we won't encrypt our seed phrase. Review our configuration, looks good. Now in our tools, I don't have time to actually go into how to configure AWS or IPFS, so we'll just create a mock metadata deployment with 15 metadata items. And now we can go ahead and mint some NFTs, create a new NFT mint config. We'll call it Apex NFT. Select your metadata deployment that you would like to use. And now we could actually configure our NF token mint settings. We'll make the NFTs transferable, put a 5% royalty on them. We won't restrict it to XRP, and we won't make them burnable. And we'll set a token taxon of 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we'll go ahead and mint our NFTs. It's going to check our accounts, make sure that they're appropriately set up. Right now we are funding the accounts. Next, we're going to enable authorized minting. It's going to fund the authorized minting account, and then it's going to enable authorized minting.
I think we're out of time.
Okay, I thought it was 45 minutes. It's been, oh wow. Well, if anybody's interested and wants to learn more, feel free to find me after. I do have a little quick giveaway, if that's okay.
Yeah. That's it.
So for everybody who attended the presentation, you can be a part of the initial mint for a little project I put together over the past couple weeks, the Xfox Club. So you could scan this QR code and you'll receive a distribution. I'll execute it as soon as I get off the stage. And this will allow you to claim a Fox by visiting xfox.club. And I guess Xfox is now officially live.
Thank you.
Thank you.